Hi, great to see you all here, and thank you for joining. This is the right place to talk about communication and relationships and discuss it in a collaborative environment. So this may sound strange and weird. Maybe you won't believe me, and maybe it will sound arrogant, and maybe you will think like I'm exaggerating for my own selfish purposes. The tools that and techniques that we are discussing today here can make you one of the best influencers in your company, your or your social circle. Plus, you will improve your relationships with the people, and you will be seen as a leader. Why? Because people look up to leaders, and also leaders are good at influencing and persuading people. They always know what to say and how to move people by heart. And this is how leaders measure each other, and they look at how you speak, and they see how you speak, and they understand your leadership potential. So don't delay learning communication, influence, and negotiation skills, because this is how you will be perceived, and you'll be able to gain support necessary for your success in your business and in your career. So we'll talk about perception a bit later, and perception is the most powerful driver in everybody's life, and understanding what perception is crucially important. So once I asked the VP of products, who was retiring from his position of managing about 300, 400 people, and I asked him this: what kind of person do you look as your successor? And he said, well, I'm looking for somebody who would understand the balance between different stakeholders and could manage it. So managing the balance. That's all it takes to be a vice president in IT company. You don't need to be a guru. You don't like a technical guru. You don't need to be a business guru, but you must be an expert in relationships with people. The relationships are skills to manage them. Those are relationships and skills to management is everything in your success. And today we'll talk about emotions and what role they play in relationships and building successful relationships and influencing other people. Okay. And I have a little something for you today as a handout. I spent 3 years gathering different tips to improve the impact of your communication, make it meaningful and valuable. And I put together this quick aid to navigate emotions and conversations. And you will get it today for free, no strings attached. So go to the original event, to the comments tab, and find the comment with the title Nurturing Emotions, with the link there. So click on that link and you will get that document. So thank you all for joining this discussion. I appreciate your generous support and leadership and empathetic communication. And I decided I will not be boastfully introducing myself here over and over again. It's not cool. So if you want to learn more about what I do, who I am, please visit my LinkedIn profile and you can find information about me there. Thank you so much. So we are talking about emotions today and their role in negotiation and building powerful relationships. So I'll talk to you about several things today. So I will talk to you about two messages that we send at the same time, and the logical and emotional message, and how to improve your emotional message. How do you actually project the right emotional message? How do you control your own emotions? And how you control emotions on the other side as well? And how to spot and uncover values, wants, and needs effectively based on what you observe in emotion. So this is very important because it will allow you to be in a better position when you discuss different solutions. So you will be a leading guide in conversation when you have that understanding. So let's first get on the same page about communicating emotions. So as human, we when we speak, we send two messages at the same time. And that is the logical message. It is the words we say and the thoughts we convey. And the other one is the emotional message. So it's everything else. Tone of voice, facial expression, eye contact, facial body language, your gestures, and how you present yourself. And we understand the logical message, we can perceive it, but emotional message we cannot really perceive it. It's too many things to track at the same time, too many things involved in sending and receiving the emotional message. And we cannot control them at the same time. So, what are those things? Well, those things include the sound of our voice, for example, or maybe modulation or intonation of our voice, the volume, the pace, maybe the hesitation, maybe pauses, breathing, and the other things, facial expression, our smile, our gaze, the eye contact, blinking, and our body language, how we present ourselves, how much space do we take, how do we move on stage, a head tilt, the shoulder movement, and the posture, everything. So it's too much information actually to process for our logical prefrontal cortex, um, we the conscious brain. Instead, what we do, we actually feel that emotional message. Okay, so our mammal brain processes information 100 or maybe 1,000 times quicker than our human logical brain, our prefrontal cortex. So our mammal brain is like a supercomputer that we can that we also call a gut feeling, or we call it intuition. So translating your emotions into words is actually a hard work for the brain. And it could be done voluntarily. That means you can actually focus and think about what you feel. But it cannot be done when you're kind of in the emotional state. It just doesn't work because your amygdala kind of switches off your mechanism to rationalize things, so you become less rational under emotion condition. Okay, so and it's different for different people, but it works for everybody, right? So we may experience the emotions decreasing after we logically understand them. And I recently felt pretty stressed about something related to my business, and I felt kind of restless and disturbed. I cannot think of anything but this thing, and emotions were kind of boiling inside of me and translating into negative self-talk, like totally irrational self-talk. And I knew I need to get over it and I need to get it under control. So this is what I did. I committed to figure out what exactly is eating me and what is the next logical step to do. And I have a kind of like a superpower method to make decisions. That's actually taking a shower. So I took a shower, and during this 10 minutes, I figured out why I was anxious and what to do and what I didn't do and what I want to do next. And my anxiety turned into anticipation of trying new things and expecting results. So a little segue off topic, but it could be helpful for us to have the first lesson. And the lesson number one, we are not always aware what emotions we're actually experiencing and um, what we're feeling and why, and we need to convert them. And it's an active process. So, uh, but we always send emotional message and we always receive it. So we can send and receive emotional messages without conscious awareness of that. Therefore, when you have a crucial conversation, when emotions are involved, when there's a lot of things at stake, like you're talking about boundaries, accountabilities, commitments, disagreements, maybe something like high stakes, like employment, promotion, raise, and such. Be aware that emotions actually can take over. An emotional message is always there. You cannot stop it. Even if you're not speaking, you're still radiating emotional message. And maybe it sounds too intimidating, but emotional message is very useful data in making pivotal decisions in your conversations, and therefore you can't ignore it and just rely on logical interpretation. And it's valuable for different reasons. First, you will get a better idea of what is going on with you and also with the other person. And you can be more aware what message you're actually sending and what message you are receiving, the emotional message. So, for example, you can say like, "Oh, maybe my emotional message is too serious here," or "I am projecting defensiveness." So you can actually understand what you're sending, and also you can look at the person. You can say, "Oh, this person is defensive." Or this person is actually uncomfortable. So you can actually be more aware of that. And, you know, people may understand these things to a certain degree, but you can be better at more aware and more detailed about this. And if you notice something you don't like about it, you actually can change it. You can work on this. And we'll talk about how to change your emotions and how to change the emotions of the person in front of you. So how you need to talk about that with the other person. We'll talk about this in a bit. So I hope I didn't tell you anything new, and I just highlighted something that is important. Does it make sense? Okay, so now when you know that you are involuntarily radiating clues about your emotions, it may feel uncomfortable, and I understand it. We don't want to send a message we don't intend to send, or like send it without control. So some people say, keep your emotions under control, and they mean something like maybe don't show your emotions. I actually think it is not the smartest idea. Controlling your emotions is kind of like a useless exercise. First of all, you won't be able to do it effectively, and because you can't really control so many variables at the same time, it will just look like you're not sincere. So there will be inconsistency in different signals. Um, and the second, this idea of control emotions come from misunderstanding the very role of emotions. So um, emotions are indicators of the inconsistency of your values with the perception of reality. The perception, not the actual reality, the perception of it. And if reality doesn't match your values and your principles and your needs and wants, you'll experience bad emotions. Anticipation of the loss, bad emotions. Anticipation of the gain, good emotions. So um, some people could be happy to live in a small one-bedroom apartment, and others will find it awful. And one small fact from my life, till about 16 years old, when I was still 16 years old, my parents and my older brother lived in just one room in a flat where kitchen and bathroom were shared with other four families. So having our own private apartment was a bliss. It's about comparison of your values and principles and standards and what's true for you in your mind with what you see and hear. And there's one lady called to a hotline, and she was telling the listener on the hotline how unjust and broken the healthcare system is, and that was in the United States, and not long ago, or not very long ago. Let me say that. So he was upset, and essentially her message could be summarized in 4 words: It is not right. It is not right. What's going on? It is not right. And I know what it means in terms of matching the values to the reality. There's a huge gap in her mind that is not right in her mind. And I know her level of fundamental truth with all the values and principles and standards was telling her there is no match. She felt bad about it. For her, it was painful. For some other people in a similar condition, it could be a paradise. You meet a doctor for free, and also you can access plenty of resources online. What can be better? You don't need to drive 30 miles to see a doctor. What can be better? So I often go to a small town in Egypt, and they don't have eye doctor there. So they need to drive 100 miles to see such a doctor. Here we have 5 doctors within 5 miles. What can be better? So perception is the factor we can't discount. Make sense? So there are 4 variables in the equation here: the reality, the perception of reality, your values, and your emotions. Which one is the easiest to control? You can control reality, at least not instantly. You can change it slowly, of course. And you don't want to change your values every time you get emotional. That's not a good idea. You will not, you will not feel comfortable about this, changing your values all the time. Suppressing emotions is just fruitless because you go against your nature, and it won't work. So, correct. Perception of reality is the easiest what you can change, the easiest to change. All right. So, what is it? It's the meaning that we are making from what we see and hear. It is the attitude, a point of view, a philosophy of looking at things, your perspective. So perception is the conclusion or story we are telling ourselves about reality. And in most cases, we decorate the story with our assumptions. So we add assumptions about the things that we don't really know, that we don't have information about. Our brain doesn't like gaps, and it fills gaps in the story using imagination. So let me give you an example here. So imagine this. Somebody said to you, a colleague of mine told me that her partner started to see his ex-girlfriend during lunch, right? So her partner started to see his girlfriend during lunch. So what picture you have in your head right now? Like, where do they meet? In a cafe, in a movie, in a park, in a restaurant? How the table in the restaurant looks like? Is it outside? Maybe it's inside. Is there a tablecloth? Are there candles on the table? Is there wine on the table? You got the picture? Yeah? So now I'll add one small detail here, okay? His girlfriend is in a clinic in a terminal condition. How the picture now changed. Dramatic change, isn't it? So hospital room, that's the picture now. Hospital room, the bed, everything quiet, flowers on the table, medical equipment beeping, doctors going here and there, and a chair near a bed. That's completely different picture. That's the story we are telling ourselves, and it can change instantly, and it can change dramatically. So when you feel strong emotions, ask yourself, do I tell myself a helpful story about this? When you change your story, your values could be more in line with your perception of reality, and emotions will change. The emotion will follow your story. Well, let me give you an example. I recently talked to someone over LinkedIn, over messaging. Okay, and I like asking questions and learn about people and engage in a conversation, making a connection. And in this case, the answers were like short, off target, and dry. And it's typical um, example when somebody is getting defensive. But for me, it felt being disrespectful, cold, and even rude. I felt strong emotions. But it's not what it looks like that matters, not my perception. It's just a defensiveness that was defensiveness uh, and and if this is really a defensiveness, then how different my approach would be to talking to this person, from the approach discussing responsibility and respect, right? So don't control your emotions, control your story, control your interpretation, the meaning you assign to things that you see. Ask yourself, am I telling myself a victim story? And what is my part of responsibility in this situation? What I don't do to improve the situation? And maybe what I do wrong here? And why a reasonable and a rational person would be this way and do this thing? Okay, does it make sense? All right, all right. So now let's talk about control emotions on the other side. So why would you attempt to do this? Is it actually reasonable? So there are several reasons why you would want to do this. When people are emotionals, they have difficulty thinking logically, and they may make decisions based on emotions and later recognize a mistake and regret it. If people regret their decision, they remember the bad experience and they may not come back to you ever after this. They will feel like they've been manipulated. So that's not beneficial for you in case you plan to maintain relationships. So how can you control emotions on the other side? By doing three things. Number one, sending them the positive and calm emotional message, especially if they in a state of bad emotions. Number two is translating their emotions for them by using reflections. And number three is improving their perception of reality. Well, similar to what we do to ourselves using labels and nurturing and interrogative questions. So we can actually talk to them about this so they actually can understand what is actually going on and what meaning do they make to the reality or assign to the reality. Okay, number one, sending a positive and calm emotional message will activate their mirror neurons that will calm them down. When you know how to control your emotional state by using positive story, you can resist their negative message to you and start sending your positive message to them, okay, which they will involuntarily receive and they perceive it and actually they will mirror them. So you actually can infect them with your emotions if you would, okay? And as their emotional brain will be telling them there is no threat, I'm receiving a positive message constantly, they will come down. And research shows that we have mirror neurons that we subconsciously mirror the emotional state of people we talk to. So you can literally change the mood of others by changing your own. All right. So number two, translating emotions for them. In a highly emotional state, it's hard for the logical brain to kick in. It's because of amygdala. So amygdala like switches the brain, like stop thinking logically. Start thinking like a mammal, like start to, defend yourself or fight or flight. We also say this is a reptilian brain. A reptilian brain is even, is simpler than that. Maybe under high stress, we stop receiving emotional messages as well. But, you know, uh, we are making irrational decisions based on our feelings and under the influence of emotions. So to shift irrational to rational, we must think about it and translate into words. And therefore, if you reflect on somebody's emotions, you can literally borrow them, a part of your brain, so they can actually get a relief and they can start, it will use it a kickstarter for their logical thinking. All right. So you can label their emotions, and by doing that, you can um, give like a little, you can give them a gift of understanding their own emotions. So that will be in the handout that you will receive, that you will see like the ways to do that. Okay, and don't forget to access the handout from the link in the comments of the original event. So go to the comments and find the link with the title Nurturing Emotions. Okay, so you can see there how you can identify emotions and then reflect it back to them. And it's usually in the form of a label or a direct label without without tentativity. Okay, and it may sound something like this. So it sounds like you're really disappointed with this person, right? Or just you're really disappointed with this person, and uh, you can see more examples in the handout there. Okay, so number three is improving their perception of reality, and this is where we can call it real negotiation or influence, as changing somebody's perception of reality is very influential. In order to do this, you'll need to use labels, nurturing, and interrogative questions. So tactically, you'll need to accomplish two goals here. The first, making them aware of why they're feeling what they're feeling. And number two, um, uh, you need to question or you need to challenge their current perception. To make them aware, just make them think about it. So you can ask something like this. If you feel disappointed, what might be the reason for that? What's causing it? What exactly bothers you the most? Those simple questions, they will start thinking like, okay, what is bothering me? What does actually make me feel disappointed? Like, how those two things connecting. So nurturing will be helpful here because um, you can actually elaborate about that perception in details. So for example, if somebody disappointed with a broken commitment, you can tell more about that commitment or talk more about that commitment. Why is it important? How it impacts this person? And what was expected, and by when, and what didn't happen, and most importantly, why it didn't happen. We make distinction, where is the reality and where is the perception of reality. So the most useful questions are, how do you know that, XYZ? What makes XYZ be true? And what actually happens? In case the negativity directed against you personally, it will be harder. So essentially, you will feel like under attack. You feel your own emotions kick in, and and you need to help the other person. So it will be really triggering. And in this case, you'll need to create safety and ask this question only after you creating that safety. And a contrasting statement from crucial conversation will be the best help here. So contrast the perceived intent with your actual intent. So you can say something like this. I don't want to evade responsibility or become defensive. I'd like to clear things up and make it straight as much as you do. And how do you know that I didn't care about your request? It seems like you are still disappointed with me. So here I'm using a label to elevate their awareness of emotion. It seems like you are still disappointed with me. You said that I didn't care about your request. What actually happened? What actually happened, right? You asking about the facts, right? Uh, why would I or anyone in my place do this, do the same thing as I did? Okay, why would I or anybody else in my place do the same thing as I did? What didn't happen on either side? So you actually saying what didn't happen on either side? What didn't happen on my side? What didn't happen on your side? Feels like feels like you don't trust me. How would you deal with the situation going forward if you don't trust me, right? How would you deal with that? All these questions will trigger slow thinking, and mixed with labels and contrasting will create space for dialogue. The how questions will shift the conversation from complaining and blaming to solutioning and collaboration. Does it make sense? All right. So uh, get a moment to sign up for the next audio room. So go to this events page and click comments and scroll down to the comment with the link to the next event and click attend and also add to your calendar so you actually have a notification that the event is coming up. Okay. So what could be more advanced in negotiation besides what we've mentioned here, such as controlling your emotions, your own emotions, and control emotions on the other side, and creating a constructive dialogue. So what could be even more effective than that? Than that? It's understanding what's behind emotions, the needs, the wants, the values, the principles of fundamental truth. And I like this quote. Unfortunately, I don't remember, I don't know who said that. So the quote is this: emotions are data, not distraction. Learn to interpret them, and you'll be a better leader. It's true. Emotions open the door to talk about all these deep things that are not on the surface. So you can start connecting reality, emotions, and values using those labels and using nurturing and questions. So let me um, continue that example that I gave you before with someone being disappointed about the broken commitment. So what you can say, sounds like you're disappointed because it impacted your plans. So now you're talking about the plans. So not just disappointed, but why you're disappointed. So it's against your standards of doing things like that, right? The standards now in the picture, and then we can talk about the standards, how things should be in the mind of that person. Okay, so what is the impact on your plans? On your plans, what is the impact on you? Sounds like what happened isn't right. What principles should be in place here, right? So if a person says what the principle, this person will give their own principle to you, so you will understand what they have in mind, right? So what were you hoping to accomplish if it wouldn't be so frustrating? All right. So if it wouldn't be so frustrating, what would you like to do? That's another question. So there could be other examples, and the idea is simple. Talk about what's hidden behind the emotions, the needs, the wants, the values, and principles and standards. Okay? Does it make sense? So let me summarize, but before that, I wanted to remind you about the upcoming masterclass, and um, I put together this masterclass on Thursday, August 17th, over the lunchtime, called Seven Levels of Nurturing. And this mental model will allow you to elevate your influence and approach and fine tune it for the powerful impact. Also, it will allow you to understand how to connect with other people, how we connect with each other on deeper levels. So you can actually connect to anyone around you very quickly and establish deep rapport and trust. And the link to the masterclass in the comments of the session, go to the events page and click the comments tab, and then you'll see my comment with the link to masterclass. And please click on the link and join the event. And don't forget to click on external event link inside the event right away to register through Calendly. And there are only 10 seats because this masterclass is interactive, and I'll talk about it at the end of the session today, if you would like to learn more about that. Okay. And also, I put together a masterclass about 7 principles of influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. I am a founding member of the Cialdini Institute, so excited to speak about this topic of influence. And the masterclass will be on August 23rd, and the link is also in the comments of the original event. So if you have any questions or cannot find the link, please send me a message. You can actually send me an email at vb@bushinconsulting.com. Um, uh, and Also, please check out my website, www.businessrelationshipscoach.com or businessrelationships.coach. All right, so as a summary, we sent 2 messages at the same time, logical and emotional. To improve your emotional message, control your story that you are telling to yourself about reality. Number 3, control emotions on the other side, raise their awareness of their emotions and translate it for them. And number 4, also improve their perception of reality by making them think slowly about it. And final number 5, figure out what is hiding behind their emotions, and connect the emotions with their values, with their perceptions, with their wants, with their needs, and their principles in life. And with all these points, you will be much more confident influencer and negotiator, and you'll be able to navigate the sea of emotions. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope to see you again on the following webinars, following events. And I hope this was helpful, and you can actually put some of the things in practice. Don't forget to download the handout, and also the slides to this presentation will be also there in the comments. Thank you so much. And now we are going to, go to the next step will be to ask questions. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good one.